the clinical aspect. So you probably haven't heard about these or even haven't seen such interventions and an application of laser in your studies or in your skills. So I'm going to show you some clinical aspects, oncological aspects, what we usually perform and show and apply for the clinical use of the CO2 laser. As you know, in general, there are lasers everywhere, and this is a well-known figure with high energy laser and low energy laser, impulse laser, and so on. So in the ENT and otolaryngological practice, we use especially gas laser like CO2 laser. This is a well-known laser, but ion laser, diode lasers, and excimer laser. So all has a special area where we could use it in the ENT practice. You see this specification of CO2 laser. This is basically a cutting laser with a diameter of 0.5 millimeter, and has a high energy laser with 60 to 100 watts. The spot is burned because it burns the laser, CO2 laser burns a part of the tissue. So this is the spot. It is from 0.25 to 0.8 millimeter, and so it's quite small spot, and the spread of the laser beam is straight. So we have to be very careful of it, and the setup should be very precise to achieve to reach the area what we aim to resect or cut. And this is coupled with microscope for the exact manipulation. So this CO2 laser is basically used for every kind of laryngeal and pharyngeal disease, but for benign lesions and early malignant lesions of the tumor. This means a malignancy, so means cancer, as you know. So we have tumors of the glottic area. This is a vocal fold here, and over the vocal fold is the supraglottic space, supraglottic area, and the prognosis is lower from the glottic to the supraglottic and subglottic tumors. So we have a lot of glottic and supraglottic tumors. So these cancers of the larynx account for the majority of the head and neck cancers, and we have a prevalence of the laryngeal tumor of 56, most frequent of the malignancies in adult. So there are predisposition factors and like the inherited genetic conditions, like the inherited acquired DNA mutations, incidence in different countries, and habits of smoking, tobacco use, abuse, and alcohol consumption, and so on. And the professional and pollution things might contribute to this to the prevalence of the laryngeal tumor as well. So on the pathogenesis of this tumor, so invasive cancer may develop from the dysplasia and then transforms this to cancer in situ. So, and more than 92% of this cancer established as a squamous cell cancer. So there are prognostical aspects of the laryngeal cancer that depends on the localization of the tumor, staging and differentiation, and the metastatic formation. As you know, in the regional and distant metastases might develop due to the primary cancer in the larynx. So we have TNM classification of tumor node and metastatic system. This is from the WHO and the UICC, the American system, and the Hungarian issue for these. So we basically, for laser treatment, we usually apply this entire laser system and for small glottic and supraglottic tumors. This means T1 and T2 from the TNM classification, and the stage classification, you can see the stage 1, 2, and the initial part of the stage 3. This is these are the tumors that are applicable for laser resection. So there's a diagnostic work of clinical examination, pathology, imaging, CT, MRI, and so on. And what are the symptoms of these tumors? These malignancies, hoarseness in the vocal cord, cancer, and group and supraglottic group dysphagia, referred pain, and dyspnoea, hoarseness. So we have many diagnostic workup for set up the diagnosis here, indirect laryngoscopy and special endoscopies. So here you see on this figure the basic endoscopy, the fiber optic vision of the vocal folds and the larynx. And this is the laryngoscopy. This is the outpatient laryngoscopy, and this is the video endoscopy of a tumor of the vocal fold. You see here the basic setup of the direct laryngoscopy, microlaryngoscopy under general anesthesia. You see the patient is under general anesthesia with a special ENT laryngoscopy the transferring explore the larynx and the pharynx, and you can see here the vocal folds. This is the intact, and this is the tumor on the right vocal fold, as you see. We usually use different lasers, but at the beginning we started with tungsten lasers, but nowadays we have addition with a more sophisticated laser device. And microscope, coupled with microscope, you see the microscope. This is the arm of the laser beam, the CO2 laser, and this coupled to the microscope. And on the general anesthesia, we should perform this operation. So the basic treatment option for the early malignancies, malignant laryngeal cancer are the surgery, radiation, chemo sometimes, but combined treatments as well. But this is decided by the operative board. At an early stage, we usually apply surgical treatment, the transferal endoscopic laser resection versus open approach surgery or radiation therapy. What are the goals that you achieve in this aspect, in this from the surgical aspect? A good oncological result is as good as or better than from external approach surgery. A functional results as regarding the quality of life of the patients with a good voice, preserved voice, and acceptable voice, swallowing without feeding tube, without tracheostoma, without cannula, so without opening the trachea. So this is very important from the quality of life aspect. And aesthetic results, no scar, no neck, and cost-benefit relations. So these are the experts who designed this initially the laryngoscopy and the laser treatment. Jakob Strong from the US and Steiner from Europe, from Germany, and the Hungarian board. We've got nowadays more than 20 years experience with the CO2 laser technique, and we introduced for the early malignancies with glottic cancer and supraglottic cancer to the clinical practice. So we got nowadays more than 500 patients, but this was analyzed at almost 300 patients underwent the laser correctum. That means the resection of the vocal fold, the tumor of the vocal fold. You see here the man-women ratio of the glottic cancer, and the age of represents from 40 to 70 years, and the predisposing factors like smoking, alcohol consumption, and together this increases highly the risk of the development of the tumor. So we made a risk factor analysis, and we showed 10 times risky using smoking and alcohol consumption. That it increases the risk of the development of the tumor by 0.7. So we see the classification of our patients, the TNM classification, and here we've got by the European Archive, the otolaryngology issue of the 2000, we have a proposal for the classification of these tumors and the resected part of the larynx. You see the different increasing extension of the resection of the vocal fold and the larynx. So at the beginning of our laser treatment in the 80s, we started with small tumors like this one, which is a T1A tumor, and we resected by the straight the CO2 laser. You see here the vocal fold. And later on, we started different techniques like fluorescent techniques to eliminate the tumor. And you see here on the video this T1A tumor, and later on the resection, and you see the elimination of the tumor. It fluoresces in red, and here you see the specimen that was resected, and we sent it for pathological assessment with a clear, healthy margin. You can see very well under the microscopic view, and you can resect it with the laser. You see here the pilot laser beam. This is a red one. This is my laser, but here this another red pilot laser is the you can direct your laser because it's invisible CO2 laser, normally. So you can see the resections here of the vocal fold, transitory, no open, no scar on the neck, no tracheostoma, so you can see directly through the mouth, and you insert your laryngoscope and use it exactly under microscopic vision with the laser. Okay. So this is another example. When you use special endoscopes, telescopes through this laryngoscope, you can visualize the entire vocal fold, the Morgan sac, very detailed, and you can easily resect the vocal fold. This is a larger T2 vocal fold tumor, and resected, as you see, the entire. You can see this carbonization zone by the whirling of the effect of the laser, but this is very normal. We have a better laser now. This new sophisticated laser with a low carbonization zone and a very, very small carbonization zone. So this healing process is much better. Here you see another example of laser. And what is very difficult here in resecting is the anterior part of the vocal fold, because it's very difficult to have a good access to this area, and it's a very narrow area to resect. So you have to be very careful with the resection of the anterior part. This is the cartilage, this is the vocal fold, and the tumor in the anterior part. And that might be staged before and diagnosed by the CT scan, the imaging techniques. If it's because laser treatment, we have to listen to the borderline of the larynx. You see the thyroid cartilage, but it infiltrates, the tumor infiltrates the thyroid. The laser is not applicable anymore because of the infiltration, so we have to change for extra growth surgery to resect the entire cartilage of the larynx as well. So you see here recurrent tumor after laser treatment. If the cartilage is not infiltrated, you can repeat the laser, or even you can cut it external approach the entire tumor together with the cartilage. So you see here another tumor type, the laser technique, and the set up in the OR for treatment, and you can visualize the larynx and the tumor and explore it, and then you grab with a very fine forceps the tumor or the healthy margin, and try to resect the laser easily under. But you need some skill for good aspiration and just to manipulate with the laser easily in So the main, most of our cases have squamous sac cancer, when we rejected this the tumor, we have to check. We made studies on the postoperative oncological and functional results. So what is a good issue, and we try to emphasize that from the beginning, from '87, we started with the laser, and then later on the external approach surgeries like partial laryngectomy disappeared from our practice. Yeah? Not completely, but almost. So we started here. You see the laser, and the blue is the external approach, and we later on these tumors could be resected with easily with laser, and there was no need for tracheostoma and external cut on the neck, yeah, for the resection. So this is a very good result of this. So basically the results are very good. Almost 80% healed after primary laser, and then after repeated laser and salvage treatments and the tumor recurred, we achieved 97% of laryngeal preservation in this, and the neck management was 3%. So we could have a good foundation. I'm going to show you just the results. Functional results, we got a pre-operative, post-operative assessment. This is real subjective, but the patient was satisfied with their voice comparing to the pre-operative voice. Of course, the whole hand index was quite good up to type 3 boardectomy. This is, but the larger extension or tumors, and the voice quality is worse, of course. And this is the objective analysis of the voice, of course, and that shows the same. The larger extensions shows a worse result, of course. So what is important from the cultural aspects, we achieved quite good practice in the laser treatment. So the endoscopic resection takes time, just 10 minutes to 40 minutes, and the hospitalization is 1 to 3 days, versus external approach surgery, which lasts weeks or 1 week at least, and it's much cheaper. So the laser coding represents a minimally invasive transferal surgical method with good oncological results and acceptable functional results as well. And there's no swallowing disorder, no tracheostoma, and we show that the smoking plays an important role in this. In the supraglottic cases, we just I'm going to show it separately. We have 63 patients, mainly with epiglottis. This is the upper part of the larynx, and we performed laser treatment as well as the resection of the upper part of the larynx. And you see here that this is the force cord resection. This is the pre-op CT imaging, just to visualizing the epiglottic space and the neck, because it has a higher metastatic formation rate, this supraglottic type of tumor, and we have to detect either or both the epiglottic space and the neck nodes, lymph nodes. So you see here laser epiglotectomy, and you see here the tumor and the post-op resection and the healing. And this is another view of the supraglottic valvular tumor that is resected with the CO2, and the end result of the healing. You see the half epiglottis and the resected part. This is another example. So the post-op view is very similar after laser and horizontal supraglottic laryngectomy, but the perioperative morbidity of the patient is much higher after external approach surgery, of course. We could detect with this imaging technique the late neck metastasis formation on the neck. So we could usually make it an external approach surgery to resect the metastasis of the neck, and without touching the interior part of the larynx, because it's intact, there's no recurrence in the larynx. And this is the metastasis, this is the removal of the metastatic from the neck, but it doesn't affect the swallowing and the breathing of the patient. So the late postal functional results are quite good, with no real aspiration and good closure of the glottis. That means good functional result, good voice of the patient. The voice box doesn't, and the voice quality doesn't affect, it's affected by this treatment. So the time consumption of this surgical resection is 0.5 to 1 hour, and versus horizontal supraglottic is longer. Hospitalization is shorter than versus horizontal supraglottic laryngectomy, 6 days an average to 17 days. The costs are also lower. Of course, it depends on the complication and the type of surgery, but much lower than the external approach. So here you see the quality of life study what we've done on hospitalization, on TLR, this is the laser resection, and the external approach surgery. Otolaryngology, you see the low, the days, 6 days of versus 17 days. Dysphagia, aspiration, deglutition problems are much lower at the laser treatment group, and in other the social life questionnaires show also better functional results in daily activities and feeding, psychological things. So we, as an end result, I'm going to tell you that 75% of our patients heal after primary laser treatment. The service treatment are as follows here: repeated laser and external approach surgery as well. But we achieved the local tumor-free survival in 85%. You see here the Kaplan-Meier curves on local tumor-free, and as conclusion, I could tell you that in selected patients we could use the laser for the supraglottic cancer as well, together with an external approach surgery. No need, in those cases, there's no need for tracheostoma, so no need for cannula, and the aspiration is not so high, or even after the healing is acceptable. And as a last issue, we showed that the post-op quality of life of the translator resection highly exceeds of the external approach surgery and the horizontal supraglottic laryngectomy. So, what are the advantages in the laser of using for laryngeal diseases, and especially the early malignancies? This is a minimally invasive technique with a faster recovery, no need for stoma, tracheostoma, no prostoperative inoperative bleeding or not severe, no edema, rarely developed, and moderate aspiration in the supraglottic cases, but less technical problem than after open access or external surgery. Acceptable voice, feeding tube or percutaneous gastrostomy is rarely required, only in extended cases of the supraglottic resection, and the short hospitalization is regarding the cost-benefit aspects. What is the future? We have, and in Europe and the US, there are many robot-assisted surgeries done nowadays with this Da Vinci surgical robot. They got it with both every university kind of robot. So this is a very good technique, might be in the future with laser or without laser, and that might be laser applicable in this setup. And this is a new technique for the surgery through internet as well, if you want. So you see here the setup, and this is the doctor, the expert who can do the surgery with a manipulator through 3D vision, and the setup is somewhere else in the OR, and this might be one way of the future of these endoscopic techniques. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Csanády. I don't know, maybe you have a question or not, but I hope that you will have a question after for the whole presentation. After this presentation, you can find for some goals, yeah, right? Some very specific goals. Microsurgery, because we can do it for each side of the endoscopy. It means for sometimes the spot is less than 2 millimeters. Okay, you need to do for some very, very small surgery. We don't have contact between the knife and the tissue. It also sometimes is a very good output. All right. We have also for some information about for the carbonization zone. Right. It means if we have an interaction between the tissue and the lasers, how long, how deep, how strong. Okay, what way we can use it is a wider or smaller. Right. And also we have some other things. Minimal invasive surgery. It means the bleeding is not too long time because the heat effects immediately coagulate for the tissue and closing for the vessels. It means the bleeding effect is also very, very small. And also we have to heard about for some word for cost and benefit. It means okay, the patients will be in the clinical staging very limited time. It's not necessary, and also for the quality of life because the surgery. It's not necessary for an open surgery. We do across the endoscopy immediately, exactly on the vocal fold, a very small part. It may be not only to remove for the tumors, maybe we preserve for the functioning, also for the vocal cord, maybe for the OS productivity for the patients after this also is very good. Now I would like to ask for our second presenters, Mr. Miklós Csanády, who is an assistant professor at our clinic. He's also presented for a few nice examples for our surgical treatment. And also, you can study what it means for continuously pulsated mode, ultra pulsated mode, and super pulsated